Hey everyone, it's Pam and I'm here with my monthly update video letting you know everything that I was up to in the month of June. So the biggest update from June was Too Many Games. I attended that convention for my first time ever and it was very good. I really liked how gaming focused it was. It took place in Oaks, Pennsylvania, and there were a ton of people that I knew there, which was probably the best part of the convention. Not everyone, but a lot of people from the Cartridge Club, which is a group that I'm a part of, were there, and it was really nice to see everyone. I wish I got to spend more time with all of you than I did. I felt like there just wasn't enough time to do really anything, but at the same time there was too much time to do some things. Like Will and I drove up from Toronto, which was about an 8-hour drive, so we left early Friday morning, and after that day was sort of a wash for me. Like, we checked into the hotel, did a quick lap around the floor, and then went back and to have a nap. I ended up napping until 10:30 at night. I woke up and figured, well, it's already 10:30, I may as well just have a snack and a cup of tea and go right back to bed. So I kind of just ended up driving and sleeping for most of the day on Friday. On Saturday is when most of the sort of game browsing and meeting people was done. I was able to hang out with my Cartridge Club friends at their hotel for a little bit in the evening. Also met a lot of people for the first time. A number of people came up to me and said they liked my channel, which is always awesome. It's funny though, because when I see people I recognize, I almost never go up and introduce myself because I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother them, which is weird because I like it when people do it to me. So I don't know. I need to get over that, I think. I'm just not that good at meeting people and like talking to strangers. So yeah, but it was good. I think the highlight for me was the panel on Sunday. My friend Erin Plays was a guest at the convention, so she had her own panel, which she invited me to be a part of. Unfortunately, no one recorded it, but it was really, really great. The panel room, I mean, it was just a small panel room, but it was full. Like, there were even people standing, which is something I am not at all used to having happened. A big part of that was the Cartridge Club. So many people came. It was really nice, very, very supportive, made me feel all warm and fuzzy. And the panel went well. We didn't really have that much of a plan. We had a couple things to talk about at the beginning and then just opened it up for questions, and we got a ton of questions, which was very, very nice. I'm glad I got to meet Erin for the first time, and I'm glad we talked and worked together really well on the panel, I thought. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, but yeah, I would definitely go back to Too Many Games. It was a good time. Wish I had more time to just spend with people though. I think Max is trying to get into the room. Never mind him. Wish I had more time to spend with people. I felt like so much of my time was just spent kind of wandering around the floor of the convention, and I can only do that for so long before I get very bored and very tired. So I need to structure my time better at conventions so that they're a better experience for me. But otherwise, yeah, it was a really good time. I have a lot more pickups this month than usual because of Too Many Games, but before I get there were a couple things I picked up earlier in the month. First one, on the original Xbox, World War II Combat Iwo Jima. This is not a good game, but this is a game that I did QA on way back in the day, and I'm just trying to collect all of the games that I personally worked on. It's not good. It's sort of just like a budget military shooter title. The experience of testing this was terrible. Usually in QA, you're getting a new build of games every day or two, so you can keep finding new bugs. With this, we were stuck on the same build for sometimes weeks at a time, which just made things mind-numbingly tedious to go through. So I will probably never ever play this game again, but again, I just wanted to own all of the games that I had done QA on. I did get a copy of all of them back at the time, but I didn't save them. And then the new gen title I picked up just a couple days ago was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This was for sale for $20, so I figured I'd pick it up. I've actually never been a fan of the Assassin's Creed series. I played a little bit of one, a little bit of Black Flag. I always bounced off them pretty quickly, but I did like the characters in this one, and the Greek setting looks beautiful, so who knows, maybe this will be the one that I actually stick with. Okay, onto the Too Many Games pickups. The first one is not a game, but it is game related. If anyone is familiar with the painter Square Painter, he does excellent work, sort of pixel style paintings, and I requested that he bring a Felix painting for me to Too Many Games so that I could buy it without having to pay for shipping, and I'm very happy with it. It's super cute. You know how I love Felix, so this was one of the first things I bought at the convention. Next up, in my PS1 collection video, I noticed that I did not have a copy of Ridge Racer, which was one of the first PS1 games I had, so Will found this at the show for me in the long box and purchased a copy for me, which was very nice of him. This was always a really fun arcadey kind of game with a kind of cool soundtrack, and happy to have this in the collection now. Next up, a big part of what I bought was all Sega CD games. So the first one is Sewer Shark, and oh, it's in a case, sorry, it reflects a lot. Sewer Shark is a very, very common game because it was a pack-in with the system. However, what is not common, since it's a pack-in, is this cardboard box. So this is actually a bit of a rarity, and it was a good price. I think it was like $15 or $20, so I picked that one up. And the next one is Lodestar, The Legend of Tully Bodine. And if you watched my video on The Dig, there was a little bit of footage from that in here when Brian Moriarty left LucasArts to pursue other projects. This was the first other project, and it's just an FMV sort of rail shooter kind of game as far as I know, so I figured I would pick it up and give it a play and pass judgment on whether leaving for this was a good idea or not. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. One of Will's friends actually gave this to me in a trade for something that Will gave him. I actually know very little about this Power Rangers game, but I do see from the back that it is FMV, so of course that's something I'm going to be interested in. I used to watch Power Rangers a ton when I was a kid. It's not a good show. I doubt it'll be that good of a game, but you know, it looks like it could be a ridiculous fun time. And last, this is technically Will's pickup, but I am going to claim it since it's on Sega CD. He bought a ton of other stuff that I don't even know, but Lords of Thunder on Sega CD. This is a shoot 'em up with an excellent, excellent soundtrack. Now that we have this, I will probably give it a play and a review at some point. Yeah, this is sort of one of the more rare ones we have in the collection now, and yeah, it's just like, it's an okay shooter. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the horizontal, I prefer the vertical shoot 'em ups, but it's just the soundtrack that really makes this one stand out. And lastly, I did really good in terms of PC big boxes. They weren't being sold at too many tables, but I did manage to find a few things in sort of varying conditions. The first thing I got is King's Quest V, Absence Makes the Heart Go Yonder. This isn't a game that I had on my list of games that I wanted. However, it is one that I actually played as a kid, so I'm not really sure why it wasn't on my list. You know, this is one of the Roberta Williams classics. It's the first King's Quest game I ever played. It's in pretty good condition, actually. Let me just show you in here. I think it's got some fun stuff. So it's on the like 5.5 inch or 5.25 inch floppies. Very, very many of them. There's a little hint book that tells you how to play the game. It's also like sort of like secretly encoded, so you got a little decoder if you want to actually read what's on the page. I remember this kind of stuff being used for a lot of things back sort of in the early 90s. And it's also got the manual and just sort of how to play it, and a ad for the Prodigy service for computer. And I guess that's it. I'm happy with this. It's actually the thing that I got that's in the best condition. Even though I'm not a huge fan of King's Quest other than King's Quest 7, this is a really nice box. I actually wasn't planning to buy it. Originally, when I went to the table, I saw Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is a game that was on my list, and I was very excited to see it. I didn't look all that closely at it though, so I gave the guy the money for it, and he was coming back to give me my change, and that's when I really looked at the box and saw it said the action game. So it was not the point and click adventure, it was like this weird action platformer game that I had no interest in getting, and I was like, oh shit. So we came back and I was like, can I take this King's Quest instead? And he was like, okay, that's fine. So that was a close one. I almost spent like $40 on a game that I didn't even want. So the other thing that I was super excited about that actually was on my list was Gabriel Knight 2, The Beast Within. This is one of the best FMV games ever made, in my opinion, sort of along with the Tex Murphy series. It's not in super great shape. Like you can see, there's sort of like a little stain down here and along this side of the spine. But, you know, for me, these PC big boxes are mostly just shelf pieces. So as long as one side of the spine is okay, then I'm pretty happy. Yeah, it doesn't come with much inside it. It's only got the discs and then a registration paper. There's no manual, which I feel like there was a manual originally, but oh well. It only cost $8, which was a pretty good price for this, I think. And then lastly, on the last day, Will found a guy who had put out a whole box of just flattened cardboard boxes, and he was trying to get rid of all of them for like $100, and I wasn't interested in that. I only have a small list of things that I wanted to get. These two things weren't on my list, but I couldn't resist getting them once I saw them. So the first is Vampire the Masquerade Redemption. I haven't played very much of this yet. I've always been more of a Bloodlines person, but I was happy to see the big box because Bloodlines just came in the smaller cardboard box. So I picked this up. I've been looking on eBay, and it seems like in order to get the discs and the manual and stuff, it won't cost too much in order to sort of complete this box. And then the other one, which I'm pretty excited about, I actually haven't played this, but it's sort of one of those like white whale games where I've always wanted to play it and it seemed out of reach, and that is Blade Runner. Blade Runner is a game where Westwood, I think, lost all the original code, or it was destroyed, so it's one of those ones that's probably not going to be remastered or re-released on Steam or GOG. However, fans of the game have made it so it is now playable on modern computers. So with that in mind, I picked up the box, which is actually the more expensive piece of the whole thing, so I'm hoping that I can get a manual and the actual discs for this, and hopefully actually get to play it at some point. Oh, and one more thing, I just got it in the mail today, actually, and it is this cute little Rabbite pin from my friend, Queen of Rabbites. Sorry, I've never played Secret of Mana. So it's just very cute, little pixelated pin, which, thank you, Bella. So now onto what I've been playing, and I feel like I say this every month, but this month it's actually true. I didn't play that many games this month. A big part of it was I was finishing Graveyard Keeper, which I did finally finish. I talked about that last month. One of the games I played was Plague Tale Innocence. I also mentioned this last month, but I finished it this month, and it was overall a very good game. It was, first of all, very beautiful. The soundtrack was good. It's about this young woman, Amicia, who is going on a journey with her younger brother, who's kind of a stranger to her because he's been sort of sickly and isolated for most of his life. It's during the Inquisition, and there is a plague of rats, and they have to get away from them, and things get more sort of supernatural as it goes. It's a very sort of linear game. It's not one of those ones where you're going to be doing a lot of puzzle solving and like finding different ways to do things. Usually there's only one correct way to sneak around enemies or defeat enemies, which is probably not something that's going to appeal to everyone, but it is something that I really liked. I like my games very linear, especially when they're very story focused. It was fun. You get new abilities as you go. You mostly play as Amicia. And one of the things I really like in games is when you get a companion to help you out with things. So in a lot of it, it's her younger brother Hugo. You can send him to go pick things up or, you know, go get a torch, hold a torch for you, be a distraction. And as you go, you also meet new characters who will travel with you at times. And they all have sort of their own special skills, which you can use to your advantage. Overall, it was just super effective at times. It sort of goes between soldiers being the threat against you and the rats being the threat against you. And I think the rat parts were the most effective, but it was also nice to have this sort of changing it up, you know, from chapter to chapter, so it's not all one thing. The rats were just, they were so well done. They were just like hordes and masses of them all like crawling on each other and scrambling over each other, and if you got caught by them, they would just like eat the flesh off your bones, and it was terrifying at times, but it was really good. I really enjoyed the game. Unfortunately, in the last 3 or 4 chapters of the game, I felt it really slowed down a lot. There's one chapter where you play as Hugo, who really has no abilities to speak of at that time, and I felt that just kind of ground the gameplay down to a halt compared to playing as Amicia. And then it was just a little bit repetitive in the final chapters, so I'm kind of sad that the gameplay faltered at the end, even though I found the final boss fight quite good. But overall, it was a very enjoyable game. The other game that I finished this month is The Outer Wilds, and this just came out on Xbox Game Pass. And my feelings on it sort of went in a bit of a bell curve. I started off not really liking it, then like eventually I started loving it. Then it did some things to bother me, but then like ended up on a high again by the end. You play an explorer. You're this alien species on this small planet, and they are launching out into space to explore their solar system. It's just really unique. It's like so ecological and like it does exploration so well. You take off from your planet, and the solar system is very small. You can go from one end to another very quickly. You can basically, when you land on a planet, you can walk the whole circumference of the planet in a couple minutes. But there's so much neat stuff to find. If you can go out into space and you can like watch all the planets orbiting around the sun, seeing like all the different orbits. There's like a meteor coming around, and there's 2 planets that sort of orbit each other as they go around the sun, and it's very beautiful. This is a slight spoiler for something you will learn in the first 22 minutes of the game, but the sun explodes. It goes supernova every 22 minutes, and you go back to the beginning. So at first, I thought that this was going to bother me since I'm really not into roguelikes, but you keep all the knowledge, all of the discoveries you've made, all of the sort of rules of the universe that you've discovered. You keep those, so you learn these like little shortcuts and how certain planets work and what happens at what time on this planet and how to get through this path on this planet. And it was really, it just did exploration and discovery so well. At the beginning, what turned me off was the controls. Controlling the spaceship was sometimes very difficult, but once I sort of got the hang of it and started discovering all these cool things, it was just like, whoa, it was just like this wondrous experience, and unlike anything I had really played before. So if you're at all into exploration, the idea that knowledge is power, like you don't level up, you just learn things in order to get further and further into the game, I definitely highly recommend Outer Wilds. And then 2 quick things. I got a code for Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I've been very much enjoying that. I've been sort of playing through mostly just that for the last couple days. I do plan to do a review of it once I'm finished. And the last thing is that for the first time in many years, I completed a replay of Planescape Torment. The Cartridge Club has a new podcast called the Quick Save Club, which is all about PC games, and Planescape Torment was their game this month, so I'm very happy that I had a reason to actually play through the whole thing. I tend to start it and then just go around the hive and then sort of fall off it, but this time I actually finished the game just this morning, and the writing and everything is just as good as it always was. There's a few little things that I sort of picked up on where it's maybe not as strong as I once thought it was, but just the world building in it is still so fantastic, and all of the little item descriptions and spells and your conversations and history with some of your companions. So there is going to be a podcast about it at some point, I'm pretty sure, so I will let you know when that happens. So that's it. That's my update for June. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you've been playing, if you've got any interesting pickups. Did you go to too many games? Let me know what you thought of it. And that's all. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Look at these cute dummies trying to distract me from filming. Oh, Max move. What happened? Did you get smacked?